Well, truth be told, Chamberlain, these things has nothing to do with luck. It has to do with planning. It has to do with organization. It has to do with the commitment on the part of the players. It has to do with every stakeholder doing what he's supposed to do. If you don't get it right, there's no way you can get it right on the field of play. So there was removed the element. Well, in football there is some element of luck, but you must do your homework. That is what I'm trying to say here. If we have not done our homework well, and like strategists will say, it is only when you plan well during peacetime that you bleed less in battle. But in our football, we're not planning well, and that is why we are bleeding on the field of play. So we need to get it right on all fronts. Once we get it right, then our glorious days will come back.
But having been, in this kind of situation previously, where, remember, Angola dealt us an indelible blow also.
At the Sani Abacha Stadium in Kano.
Exactly.
Same draw. They came here, got the kind of result they needed.
And then you ask yourself, what seems to be going on? Because, when they, at the end of the day, they look to the players to lift their standards, to lift the game, and perhaps salvage the maladministration, as it were, that does go on. But to what extent and how long? Could the players have done much more than they actually did on the field of play?
Of course, the players could have done much more. They could have done much more. We didn't see the commitment. If you look at the Guinean players, they were more committed, they were more organized, and they knew what they wanted out of the Abuja National Stadium, and they went for it, and they got it. But for us, it's like we don't know what we want. See, when this, the kind of politics that is going on now is the kind of politics that has kept Nigerian football where it is today, that has brought us to where we are today, state of comatose. If you look at the Zambians, for instance, they qualified for this same Nations Cup that we failed to qualify. And at the end of the day, when they drew with Libya at home at Angola, that same night, they took a decision that Coach Bonetti, the Italian coach, is gone. They didn't wait for another 24 hours to fire the man. And they are now going ahead to employ another coach who will take them to the Nations Cup proper. That is Kalusha Waya's FA. They qualified for the Nations Cup, but they knew that that was going to be Bonetti's last game. And they are going ahead to look for another coach that will not take them to the Nations Cup proper. But here, we play a lot of politics. We play politics with everything. Politics with things that has a lot of, that Nigerians are passionate about. In the case of Nigeria, we lost a crucial game to Guinea because, as far as I'm concerned, that 2-2 draw was a defeat. Because at the end of the day, it did not take us to where we were supposed to be. I thought the Federation, after that game, without dilly-dallying and shilly-shallying, would have immediately, they held a meeting actually that same night, and what they should have done is to fire Coach Samson Siasia, because this was a guy that we employed to not only qualify us for the Nations Cup. The terms of contract says that he should be able to take us to the semi-final of the Nations Cup and possibly get us a bronze medal. These things were spelled out, and if the man has not delivered on his own side of the agreement, you show him the exit door. But the same Soccer Federation, Chamberlain, held a meeting that night and was not talking about another meeting and all that and all that. If they had, what they should have done, if in a country where you plan well, is that Samson Siasia has failed us, that same night you announce a sack. But I knew that when this kind of politics come in, people are now lobbying their sentiments and all that. Samson Siasia is a friend to all of us. But then, the terms of contract are there. You don't toy with things that has to do with national interest. And that is what I'm saying, that these are the things that have brought Nigerian football to where it is today. Some people are now bringing sentiments that we have to leave him. You don't use Nigeria as a laboratory to do experiment. And that is what people are doing with Nigerian football.
But if you look at the scenario now, because from all, there are those who already are speculating that, well, since the NFF has postponed that meeting to Thursday next week, who knows? It's either they postpone it again.
Nothing will come out of it. I can tell you that.
Oh dear.
I can tell you that. As it is now, there's a whole lot of politics that is coming in. There's a lot of sentiments that is coming in. And come to look at it, the question you even begin to ask yourself is this. Assuming Samson Siasia is fired today, in another climb, in 1 week, the Football Federation will get another coach. But in Nigeria, fire Siasia by Thursday next week, which they are not going to do anyway. I will be surprised if they do that, because a whole lot of politics has come into play now. But even if they do that, it will take the Nigerian Football Federation that I know another 1 year to hire a new coach. Because one, people will be talking of how to go to Germany or London or anywhere to go and do interview. So many things will come into play. And at the end of the day, the next Nations Cup qualifiers will start in February, March.
And we'll be without a coach?
Yeah, we'll be without a coach. Because come to look at it, there's no time. Well, there is a race against time. The Nations Cup is coming up in January. That is the 2012 Nations Cup. And don't forget that because of the change of calendars, it affects the Nations Cup. The next Nations Cup is coming up in 2013 in South Africa.
Okay,
and we're going to begin the qualifiers in March. And it's going to be a straight knockout thing. It's not going to be a group stage thing where you now play preliminaries and all that. So in March, we'll face another round of qualifiers. And I expect I won't be surprised if we get into a situation where we will be coachless if we sack Samson Siasia now. Because like I said, the kind of football administration we run in this country is such that if we sack Samson Siasia, it will take us 1 year to hire another coach. And that is the lot of Nigerian football.
Unlike other African countries who
just watch it. Like I said, Zambia has sacked Coach Bonetti because he didn't do too well, despite qualifying them for the Nations Cup. In another 1 week, they will hire another coach. After the World Cup, how long did it take Argentina to sack Maradona? And how long did it take them to get another coach? But in our own situation, so many mundane things will come into play. People will begin to argue on parochial interest and all that. And nobody is talking about how the game will move forward in the country.
But could it be that they could use this match to try and assuage, or perhaps assuage themselves, saying, well, yes, we got a draw, crashed out of the Nations Cup, but the same players went to this match. I mean, Ghana is quote-unquote perhaps more organized in terms of the football administration than Nigeria. They came in here, the players who've played together for a long time seem to be a lot more determined, qualified for the Nations Cup, and then they pulled a draw. It means that they still got something in the tank. And so would they be saying, give them another chance?
So, Chamberlain, should we be celebrating a draw against Ghana? We shouldn't be celebrating a draw against Ghana. And of what effect is even the result? The damage has already been done in Abuja. And as the friendly against London is of no consequence as far as I'm concerned. And the Ghanaians just came to London to enjoy themselves. They went to Khartoum, got the kind of result they needed. They needed to win in Khartoum, in Sudan, and they got the result they needed. They won by 2-0. That shows you the kind of character the team is made of. And even the Black Stars, if they needed to win, assuming there's something at stake against the Super Eagles in London, they would have gone for the kind of result they needed. They just came to London to enjoy themselves. And then, talking about coaching, in London, we say, okay, which is start, and we saw the kind of bite our team had up front. Then the question you ask is, why is it that the same coach started one Emenike in the game against Guinea?
What could have happened?
For what reason? And there is inexplainable. He's still defending his style against Guinea, even in the interview he granted the media yesterday. But I can't just understand how a coach will put Ikeuchi on the bench, a fully fit Ikeuchi on the bench for Emmanuel Emenike.
Okay, but what
and this was a guy that on 2-3 occasions, he came in front of the goalkeeper, one-on-one situation, and a good striker would just bury the ball there. And at the end of the day, you allowed that same Emenike guy and on Saturday we get to last 45 minutes in a game that we needed to score at least 1 or 2 goals in the first half.
What do we make of Siasa's comments previously before that match, saying, well, if he loses out in that match, he knows he was going to be fired. And then perhaps that match was a sort of defining moment or factor for his staying as a coach or not. So how are we supposed to regard that kind of statement? Could it be that they already know that they're working towards something if he doesn't feel, or could it also be that the FA officials are saying, well, if we sack him, who knows, the Nigerians may call for our own sack next. And so,
everybody's
while
we'll
take away their attention and keep it there, we'll save our heads also. Is that the politics of the game now?
I think so, because like I said, people want to hold on tenaciously. And nobody wants to live in the glass house, whether you perform or not. Because, like I said earlier, the reasonable thing to do, even Samson Siasia himself knows it, that ordinarily he shouldn't have waited for anybody to even sack him in the first place. He should have honorably resigned, because see, unlike other Nigerian coaches, Chamberlain, a John Obu, if he fails with the Flying Eagles, I would have understood that. Because many people did not know that John Obu was owed about 17 months' salary before he took Nigeria to Colombia for the World Cup, for the Under-20 World Cup, national coach. And he was running from pillar to post, begging the same federation to pay him. And they said there was no money. He didn't get all the kind of support that he needed. But at the end of the day, he still managed to carry on and did relatively well with the Flying Eagles. Amadou Shuaibu, as we speak now, Amadou Shuaibu is still being owed by the Soccer Federation. And Christian Chukwu, who handled the national team so many years back, is still being owed some money. These people are alive, you can ask them.
Wait a minute, but has Amadou always qualified us for the Nations Cup?
He has always qualified us for the Nations Cup. He qualified us for the World Cup on 2 occasions, and we still sacked him. But in the case of Samson Siasia, for Christ's sake, he got all he needed. He got all the support from the federation. That is the truth. Even the friendlies that before now we were not organizing, the friendlies are not just ordinary friendlies, some grade A friendlies. We played Argentina twice. First time in Lagos, in Abuja, and then in Bangladesh. But at the end of the day, he still didn't deliver. So what happens?
What does this do to the argument for those who had previously believed that they should let ex-internationals run things, or perhaps the coaching department of the national team?
I think that calls for a review. Quite honestly, I must tell you, because it's like you don't just give the fact that you are an ex-international does not qualify you to handle any of the national teams. I think that calls for review, because it's like we've all jumped to this conclusion that once you play good football, it naturally you cannot be given any of the national teams. But I think with what is happening now, that calls for a major review. You must have paid your dues, at least at the club level. You must have delivered, so that we'll see what you can do, at least at the club level, and that will now serve as a plank for you to be given national assignment. It shouldn't be that, okay, he has played for, because come to look at it, all the national teams are now being managed by ex-internationals. And these ex-internationals are not delivering, as it were. Because if you look at the under-23 team now, about 5-6 ex-internationals are there. And the same Austin Eguavoen could not take us to even the All-Africa Games. If you look at the under-20 now, it has just been given over, handed under-17, has been handed over to Kogbade, Emmanuel Amunike and all that. But the question is, at the club level, have they performed?
Yeah, but there's also much more questions. Now, we've tried the ex-internationals and the national level.
You know why?
What next?
You know why?
Why?
Even if you bring a Jose Mourinho to Nigeria now, given the kind of environment under which we operate, administration-wise, he will not deliver. If you bring even Pep Guardiola, the man that is doing all the magic with Barcelona at the moment, you have to create the enabling environment for him to deliver. If you don't create the enabling environment in Chamberlain, he will be messed up. Don't forget, Betty Foles by all standard was a world-class coach. But he didn't perform in Nigeria. The man that took us to the World Cup was a world-class coach by all standard. He didn't perform. And don't forget that there was a time even a Carlos Alberto Pereira came here, signed a contract. The next day he went back to Brazil after seeing the kind of environment under which he wanted to work with. And he said he cannot work here.
But he came back
he took a walk.
He came back to an African country and eventually...
Yeah, because of the health problem of the wife and all that, he had to go back. He went to South Africa, and he couldn't really stay in South Africa. So what I'm trying to say, in effect, is this. Like you did point out, you have tried all manner of people, and they won't just deliver. So it means that there's something wrong with our system. So we need to do something about the way the game is run in the country. And like I did point out, it boils down to what we are seeing, the kind of drama we are seeing at the moment. The Nigerian Football Federation Technical Committee met yesterday, and then why call for the technical committee meeting when you know that this same technical committee cannot take a decision? Because even before they went into that meeting, Barrister Chris Green came out to tell the media that they cannot take a decision on Samson Siasia. It means that that meeting in the first place is uncalled for. It's a meeting that nothing will come out from. So what we should have had yesterday is then an executive committee meeting, so to speak, since they are the people that will take the final decision. So why do you call a